Qwik. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've enjoyed doing all the other videos I've been doing, but as time stretched on, my mind was going towards what I was going to be working on next, and I keep hearing about Qwik, and I looked into it a little bit, and I know what it can do, and it just seems like an ideal type of capability for JavaScript frameworks to have. It feels ideal to me, and I really like focusing on ideal things and getting to them as fast as possible. So I feel like the developer experience that's ideal in my mind is something like state adapt. And the ideal architecture for performance would be something like Qwik. And, network performance. SolidJS has the best runtime performance, but I'm wondering, Qwik hasn't focused so much on that, but I wonder how well they'll do once they do focus on that. But most bottlenecks are network garbage. I'm most interested in solving that performance problem because React, Angular, main frameworks, they're good enough on the other stuff for most apps. And then if they're not, then you could always just use vanilla JavaScript if you really wanted to, if you really needed that performance. But anyway, so what I want to do is see if I could combine the best performance with the best developer experience. And Mishko Hevery said that he couldn't do RxJS for reactivity because you can't serialize the reactive graph. And later he ended up serializing a promise, and I'm kind of wondering, I don't really believe him. I want to see how Qwik works, and I want to see if there's any way I can come up with a declarative async developer experience, like syntax. That's what I want to try to explore. I think also it'd be really cool if state adapt could be broken up into pieces. It should be able to be. So each state change function, they only get triggered once an event happens. So that feels like it should be able to be lazy loaded. So hopefully I'll be able to figure out something for that. But it's still mysterious to me. A lot of the inner workings of Qwik, it's really mysterious to me. So one of the things that Mishko said was he figured out how to serialize closures, and I don't believe that. I think that it's something similar to closure. I don't know. I have to really see how it works. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to dive into it. So first I'm going to look at the docs and just sort of skim over them because I already have gone through them. It was just casually while I was eating or something, just scrolling through them. So I didn't soak in everything, and I want to, or I think I soaked in a lot of the concepts, but I didn't soak in I didn't try to remember any of the syntax. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be really fun. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. As time stretched on, I was doing all the state management stuff. I just knew that this was going to be the next thing because it provides the biggest challenge for state adapt. Because React, I more or less have that figured out. The API right now isn't ideal, but it's fine. With Svelte, I mean, Svelte just, you can use observables in Svelte, so it feels like you should just be able to drop state adapt inside of Svelte. SolidJS has good interoperability with observables, and I think there are opportunities to really get deeper integrations with these libraries. But with Qwik, I don't know if I can get it to working at all inside it. So that's what I want to do. I wanted to look at the docs and actually get started on a project and look at the code myself, run it, see what it's like. So I'm pretty excited about this. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So I keep saying that, but all right. First thing I want to look at is this. Reactivity. So he explains how they use a proxy object. This is how I thought AngularJS should have been architected, honestly. When I was a junior developer, I was really surprised that it was just dirty checking, everything. And I thought, you know what? I just imagined that there'd be like, oh, it knows what you're updating. And it's not as easy as it sounds. And proxy objects weren't available back then, but Vue figured out how to do it. So anyway, but this is how Qwik works. It uses a proxy, and it's efficient how it manages subscriptions. That's what I remember from reading it. It's smart about how it knows what to update, and it's lazy, and that's the important thing. It's lazy. Okay, unsubscribe example. Oh, it's a ternary. This is JSX, so this is fine. This seems really easy to understand. It's just when the data is needed, it's gonna be updated when this updates. So pretty basic. And then when it's not needed, it isn't updated. It's unsubscribed. All right. Deep objects. Oh yeah, they wrap deep objects with more proxy references. And so you can't do equality checks. Yep, makes sense. As soon as you do use store, yeah, you're assigning it here. Then it wraps it. There's person that assigns it, then it'll wrap it, and that's not true. Yep. And this seems pretty easy to understand as well. Yeah, it will re-render a component if it gets invalidated. So it's not like SolidJS where there is no component boundary. There is a component boundary that matters, and it'll rerun the function if it's, it'll re-render. I don't know if it calls this again. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. It should. How would it not call that? I don't know. Well, that's all it goes into. It's smart about how it re-renders, and I guess I'll see how it re-renders when I look at the code. But this isn't what I was talking about. This wasn't what I was looking for. There was one thing that Mishko Hevery, when he gave a talk at Hero Devs about Qwik, I asked about reactivity and if there's a way to use RxJS with Qwik, and he said, no, you can't serialize the reactive graph, which feels weird to me. I need to. They can serialize promises, so I don't know. Anyway, so but then he did show me something that could react, but it's not a thing. It's a function that allows you to control other things reacting. So it's imperative. So that's like $scope in AngularJS. The thing I hated most about $scope in AngularJS wasn't the performance problem. It was how it made your code look. So I kind of hate that that's the way to react to things in Qwik. I really hate it. I think it's awful. It's like use effect, but it's going to be overused like crazy. And people in the React community are complaining about use effect being overused, and yeah. But I think it'll be more overused than it was in the React community, than use effect was there. So anyway, let me see if I can find it. Hooks, maybe? Dang. I had my recording paused, but did you see that? Or you didn't see that, but it's irritating. Look how slow that transition was. Why isn't it prefetching these things? Look at the console. Oh, I've got a type error. Failed to fetch. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, look at that. No, I think you put your best foot forward in your docs. I don't think it's smart for them to do that, but there's a noticeable delay. Huge, enormous noticeable delay. Okay, this is irrelevant. Let's do that again. Think Qwik. Click, load. It's like almost a second. And look at stated out. Zoomed out, but doesn't matter. Click, like instant. Click load. Click. Oops. Click load. Click load. Like it's instant. That's why I hate multi-page applications. Everything it feels like you're trudging through something. It's so slow. So I actually hate this. There's got to be a better way. I don't know. It's they're improving it as it goes, and I know that theoretically there is a way that Qwik should be able to do this in a single page app kind of way. It actually should be pretty easy. Maybe I'm doing this too early. I don't know. They just barely developed Qwik City, the meta framework for Qwik. That was like within a month ago. So, maybe I'm too early on this. Well, it doesn't matter. The fundamentals should be the same, but I'm still trying to find that place where you can. Oh, content projection. I'm still trying to find that place where you can react to things. So let's see if I can find it. But content projection. This is the thing that's nice. It's coming from an Angular API, like an Angular person. And so a lot of the concepts are actually going to be probably familiar. Yeah. Slot. Yep. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if he could have done it just like React does it. There are limitations that React doesn't have. So, I don't know. I have no opinion. But I need to find that thing. Here's another similarity to Angular. You declare an event. Custom event. So props.onClick. It's like a mix between Angular and React. Nice. Here's a thing called light components. They're just functions. I'm not sure why they've got this weird like misspelling branding, but it feels like it's a branded thing. But oh well, could have been just LIGHT components, but whatever. This is common enough. It's almost like a new word. This makes me a little nervous. Containers. Because components are containers. Like, components are everything. They should be. Containers, I don't know, it reminds me of like ng modules. And I always thought that ng modules was stupid overhead. But, you know, and the component is it's like your entire app is a component with Angular and with React and with pretty much everything. And I don't understand why conceptually, this isn't specifically to do with Qwik, but conceptually, I don't understand why people want to separate or make pages as special. They're just, everything's a component. It's so simple to think that way. Everything's a component. Why wouldn't you have a page inside of another page? Why not? Everything should be reusable. There's no reason not to. Absolutely no reason not to. Maybe 1% of the time it's useful, but in the 1% it's really useful. So I don't understand why we create artificial limits on what our code can do because of stupid mindsets. It is a stupid mindset to think of some components as, oh, like we need a folder for pages. This is for pages. I think you should follow the routing structure to like your folder structure should follow the routing structure, except when it needs to be reused, then it should follow a relatively flat hierarchy where it's based on the model or interface you're using or defining for the feature, and then it can be imported from multiple places. I don't like the weird categorization people like to do, but that was off topic. But anyway, containers, maybe it's on topic, I don't know. Here's a key difference. You can replace a container with inner HTML. Okay, all right. But yeah, this should be every component, right? Kind of feels like it should be. It feels like a leaky abstraction, kind of, to not have it this way for regular components. Like, oh, what is a thing? It changes depending on how you want to use it. That's not a great... That's like a way to create a lot of unnecessary work later, like unpleasant work that you suddenly have to do because something different needs to happen to it. It's like, I don't know, I need to learn more about how much of an investment this is. What are the differences? Containers can only have read-only properties passed into them. Oh, serialized. So is this like a JSON? I think so. No projection. I think that actually makes sense. Maybe? Can't modify the state which has been passed into them. I don't know. This is a little bit of a red flag in my mind. It seems like a thing that you would accidentally... the way you build your components, you might paint yourself into a corner because you don't realize that you needed to have it be a container in order for it to be its own route or something like that. I don't know. It's actually kind of similar to... I don't think... Maybe in practice this doesn't matter at all. Because if you think about... like Angular routes, they are... like, they don't have inputs. They don't have outputs. It's different. I need experience with this. I'm wondering how to share data between components. Is props the only way? We'll see. It can't be, but it might be because this is different. Here it is. Use watch. It's even called watch. I freaking hate the watch function. I wish it would die. I was glad it died in AngularJS. I'm so glad that it died. I hate that it's back. I hate this. Like, look at this. It's like, so normally you have a way of coding where it's imperative versus reactive, and you can have like events that have callbacks, and then those callback functions will have imperative statements in them, and then you can have reactive stuff that is watching other things and reacting. And then you have stuff like this where you're creating a callback function out of thin air. Like the fact that something else changed, now you get to define a callback function full of imperative statements. This is like, I hate it. I have dealt with so much spaghetti code from AngularJS. I still have really bad emotions come up when I see this. Maybe my experience is worse than other developers, but it's almost everything I've seen. And I've done a lot of AngularJS, like a lot. And the more watches it has, the more poorly thought out the architecture was and the state management. Everything was ad hoc, everything was scattered. Like look, if you highlight, do that thing, let me bring it up. Here it is. I called this React doesn't need RxJS. Look at this. Imperative is scattered. RxJS is nice because it brings things together. And then look at hooks. Look how it was before. This is awful. This is awful. This is Angular lifecycle hooks still, except at least there's RxJS to help. But it's so easy to forget about stuff when the stuff that you care about is scattered among other things that are scattered. Like everything suffers from this. Bringing it together, everything's in one place. As long as you understand use effect, this is super simple comparatively. And then RxJS does the same thing. I had, let's see. Yeah, it's here instead of, separate. I put both examples here. So here, scattered, here, declarative. Okay. Now, highlight this. We've got, we only have one feature, but let's say debounce. That's interesting. Just everything that we finally everything we were finally able to do declaratively. Now we go back. We go back a huge step, and it's all imperative now. Just everything, just the jungle, just modify whatever you want, wherever you want. And why is this value? If you're trying to think, debug, why is this value this at this time? We have to look at the entire app and make sure nothing's changing it. I guess, find all references. That helps, but you're still going all through those places. Whereas with declarative code, it's just debounce value equals debounce from this. It's so much simpler. And this is unacceptable. If there's no way around this, I'm never going to use Qwik, no matter what the performance benefit is, because my productivity, I'm going to be able to build faster if my code isn't constantly introducing bugs. So, would you rather have two features that are really fast or one feature that's really fast? With two features, you have two features. So there's a balance. It's not just always about performance. It's about productivity too. Both matter. So I really hope I can figure out a way to not have to do this. I don't think this is acceptable, at all. I thought this was something that we learned 8 years ago, that how much this sucked. But if it's the only way to do this, it's good that it exists, at least, and it's fine. Miško Hevery is focused on the technological side, the technology side, and trying to get this to actually work, this fine-grained splitting of JavaScript. And I think that is obviously the holy grail of how you deploy apps. But I'm willing to compromise on that for good developer experience. Definitely. And there's got to be a way to pre-compile it too. I don't know. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to do this. And I'm wondering if, now this might be I don't know if this is even close to correct, but I'm wondering if Miško was kind of in between reactive and imperative mindsets, and it was the in-between state that was the issue. That if he had dived completely into reactivity, like CycleJS or all the way with RxJS, that maybe a different solution to the same problem could be possible. I'm wondering that if instead of shoving all reactivity out, async reactivity, if you instead shoved out all imperative code, I wonder if that is an alternative approach. questions I have. These are the questions. So I hope I can figure this out. But I need to know the underlying mechanisms, what they can do, what they can't do, and really try to understand. Use mount. Yeah, this is not like, it's funny to see this, the naming convention. It's like React hooks, but it's the opposite of React hooks, like what it's actually doing. Yeah. Like this over here, component will unmount, component did mount. And then you move over to the use stuff, because this is about, I guess, feature, and you're using things, use state. And this is about a thing that happened at a time. But now with this naming convention, we've got use a thing that happened at a time. Okay? All right. That's kind of weird. But oh well. Okay. All right. It's time. I think it's time. I think it's time to... Geez, where do I start? What do I build? Maybe I should look on GitHub for already built stuff. Well, here's this thing to do. I did look through this on my phone. The nice thing about this is it's already built. The not nice thing is it's in StackBlitz, and StackBlitz has random issues sometimes. So, why are these separate? Dang it. Huh. All right. Well. Yeah, you know what? I have already done this. I've already played with this. It was on my phone, so it was annoying. So I didn't play with it as much as I wanted to. But I think I do want to just build something locally. So I'm going to see. Let's see. This is from GitHub, isn't it? Maybe it's not. I want to find an example, clone it, and then play with that. Here's one I found. Yesterday. We'll see if it works. Got components. Got routes. Is this using Qwik City? Let's see. It is. Qwik City. Cool. 0.0. Wow. Okay. I've been pretty crazy with my state adapt version numbers. Once I release 1.0, I'm going to actually be careful about those. I'm going to use minor, whatever you call these. Major, minor. Why isn't the word coming to my head? It doesn't matter. Well, I'm just going to clone this and see what happens. And I haven't done actual development in a long time. Yeah. Locally. I've just been doing StackBlitz stuff for a long time. All right. I made a folder for this, so I'm going to clone this. All right. npm modules are installing. Thankfully, this doesn't use Yarn. I don't see the point of Yarn. Personally, it's just extra overhead that, I don't know, doesn't save much time in my opinion. But I haven't compared them, and again, developer experience is the most important thing in my opinion. All right. npm start is running, so let's see what happens. Yes. Got something here. Oh, look at that. A little image of a city. How nice. I'm going to zoom in like crazy. 200%. Let's go 250. Try that. It's huge. Okay. All right. What do we have? Oh, things are going to be... Oh, come on. What's going on here? Blog. Docs. Okay, menu. Let's see. Huh. Oh, docs. Right, that's all in the docs. Serializing props. We're in the blog. Okay. It's kind of weird that it shows up above instead of below, but whatever. Links again, about us. Okay, now let's go back to home and let's see what... Let's do this cool demo thing. Well, how am I going to show this? Yeah, I'll just move this to one side, move this to the other. All right. Let's see. Blog. Refresh the whole page. Why is it doing this? Is routing fundamentally not... Yeah, it's just reloading everything. What's up with that? Uh-oh. Oh, data. Oh, I see. Okay. User API. I'm a little confused. I guess I thought I would see a bunch of tiny packages getting loaded. Products, maybe? It's just a bunch of links. Well, at least it's something to work with. I'm going to add some stuff to this now. Okay. Got it open now in VS Code. So I added Pocket Package Lock, huh? Okay, let's look at routes first. Why is it running so slow? Welcome to Qwik City. So this is the home page. Right here. Okay. Why is there a layout component? Is this going to be like projection? Yep. There's a slot. What is going on? Why is this so slow? Okay. Where's the slot? Layout. Is this a default thing with Qwik City? It must be. And this is where you put the content. Oh, routes. Right. So dashboard. You're going to have one here. Exclamation point. What's that for? I don't know. Why? I don't really understand this, but it just seems like a roundabout way of defining two components instead of one, except the router knows about it. You could just have this, and then instead of slot, you actually just import the component that's going to go there. But I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of efficiency you get from doing it this weird way. Well, I'm going to try some stuff. Click me, and yes, that's right. And this will be not empty. This is upset. Okay, let's see. Oh, maybe it's not this. It'll be this probably. Yeah, I bet that's it. Time to refer to the docs. Man, this sucks. Look at this. Opening the menu. Oh, well, it's instant now, but when I first did it, yeah, let's refresh so you can see. Click, open. Like, why? That is so bad. They need to make that better. Yep, it's a function. Yeah, I'm just going to copy this exact thing right here. The store, we got a store. What? Okay. Got the store. Up here. Use store, and we will just call this 0. Okay, so far I'm understanding everything. Okay, on click. I'll just copy all this text. I'll just copy the whole line. Yeah. Step. Oh man. Yeah. Step is 1. What's the deal with this? Red. Why is that red? It's kind of weird. So let's see what happens when I save, reload. Good. Hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. That's the quintessential Qwik experience that I needed. Let's see what loaded. That's it. Use lexical scope. This is what I wanted to play around with. What is this? Store count +1. Use lexical scope. The store is in here. Lexical scope. Let's try that. It did it. It did it. It did it. Huh. It seems as if it really is like a closure that they're serializing. It really seems like that. Let's see. Let's see what the initial thing was. Oops. What did I just do? Okay. Initial response. Where's the HTML? The HTML. Oh. Yeah. Is this it? Wow. Okay. Okay, there's all that fancy stuff. I'm going to mute that tab. It disappeared too soon. Okay. Hang on. That is muted. Okay, so now home. I don't understand what let's refresh. We look here at this was loaded later. Let's just look at page source. This is the right thing, right? Blogs, blog docs, about us. So that's just that. What about internal? Wasn't it supposed to be rendered inside of it? Oh, that's the footer. Okay, so we're going to see way over here. Let's print this actually. Pretty print it. Okay, good. Now we can actually understand this, hopefully. A lot of CSS here. Whoa, the CSS is inline. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Sorry, the font is small, but let me see. That should be a little better, maybe. It's harder for me to go around, but actually it makes it a little easier for me to see exactly what I'm looking for. So QID is 6. Oh man, I do like this a lot. This is the header. This is my thing. This is what I did. QID is 6. On click, go fetch the thing. That is so cool. And then let's go back to network. And I click it. Oh, look at that. And let's see. Where did it start? Okay, so we're down. What loaded? So is this? No. It wasn't any of these. Was it this? No, I'm not sure what these are. I don't remember seeing these before. Oh, their development server stuff. Okay. Vite. I've never done Vite before, so whatever it does. Come on, where's my thing? Okay, I found out what happened. I clicked this and it sorted it upside down. I mean, it's sorting it alphabetically. The font is too big. I can't figure out how to do this, but I found it. Actually, I'm going to figure this out because I might do this more. Interesting. So you refresh, you click on this, and that is when it should load, right here. It loads this, and then it loads a core thing, and then it loads other stuff. JSX runtime. So I don't know. I guess, yeah, I already knew. It's smart about what it chooses to load, so good for it. Yeah, oh man, I love this. I love this. This feels capable to me. How come we can't serialize subscriptions? That kind of makes sense. Let me see if I can, maybe I'll try promise now. No. To test that, I'd have to know a lot more about doing stuff on the server in Qwik City or Qwik or whatever. I'm new to this, like a lot of stuff here. Like I haven't even worked with server-side rendering very much. Server-side, yeah, anything. I haven't worked with Remix or anything where it kind of where you're like managing full stack. All I've done is straight front ends with communicating with an API from a server that backend developers work on. That's all I've done with the stuff I've done recently. Like that's just been every project I've worked on. So trying to figure out how to create something on the server. How do you do that? Maybe if when does this get rendered? When does it get rendered? I mean, it's gonna, it gets rendered on the server, right? I am render. Look, GitHub Copilot. Great job. You fixed my English. Why double quotes? I don't understand why that's the default. Anyway, so any console logs? No. There we go. Okay, so it was rendered on the server. Do we see that down here? Yes. Yes. Okay, so it does call this. Yeah, it renders the whole thing. It renders the app. So I could start a promise here. I'm gonna try this. Let's see. How do you create a promise? I'm just used to JavaScript. Yeah. Thanks, Copilot. I see. I haven't worked locally in a long time, so I like you, Copilot. You are amazing. What? It needs an argument. Okay. Store.set. I love this. Okay, what's your oh. It did it incomplete there incorrectly. So let's, man, this syntax highlighting is nuts. What happened? I don't even know what happened. Okay, promise. So this should resolve on its own after. Let's put console log. About to resolve. See what happens. And then let's see. Promise dot then. Okay. I mean, I did step times 1. That's mathematically stupid. I mean, this isn't. Why is it? Man, it's just nuts about these characters it's adding. Jeez, Copilot. I have not worked with this before. Okay, so what happened here? Cannot re-render in server platform. Is that a warning? Or what does that mean? Why is that a warning? Let's try. Okay. Client. Click. Does it happen here? Nah. Whoa. There we go. Whoa. Oh, it's because it re-renders when you set store. This is a little like React right now. This is like React. Okay, how do I test this without messing with that? This actually is a little confusing. This, it is like a mix between React and SolidJS, which is crazy. Because this is running every time you update the store. With SolidJS, I don't think it would be. So I'm going to go confirm that real quick. Yep, confirmed. This is running every second. SolidJS does not log this more than the first time. So this is different. This is different. And that actually changes what I'm even asking for. I don't really know what I'm looking for this to do, because like I need to create a new mental model for what this will end up being. Where does it log that? Right there? Not here. And then it does it on the client. I thought they said that they figured out a way to transfer the promise state over the framework. Well, did anything wrong happen? I didn't pay attention. Is the behavior right? Let's try it again. I just hit save. After 10 seconds, let's wait. Oh, I'm not updating this anymore, am I? So it logged on the console, but whatever. Let's see. I'm feeling more and more like I'm a little too early on this. Let's see. Here's something. Okay, let's see. OnGet retrieves data from a database or other stores. It's an async function. Okay, whatever. It's just gonna hard-code a response. Your database access. All right, this is Node.js. You can just access it. So do that and return the value. Okay, and then using it in a component. Use endpoint comes from where? Also, is this? Okay. Should there be parentheses here? No, I don't remember how. No. I don't remember how. Okay. OnGet request handler, endpoint data, async, put the params and stuff. This is like pseudocode kind of. And use endpoint isn't defined here. Okay, so it's here, and you import it into here. Okay, he's like combining them into one file. So that's all that stuff. Oh, and then it's going to return the data. And then, yeah, for some reason I assumed that was in a different file, but okay, use endpoint. Still don't know where that's coming from, but I guess you import it. It's not something we had to define. Type of onGet. Oh, it wants the function type. It doesn't want the return type. Or the opposite of what I just said. It wants the return type. So I'm not exactly sure how this is working. Resource equals resource. Okay, so you got a specific thing here. This is making me miss RxJS. And this looks like suspense, I think. Isn't that right? Isn't that what React? Isn't this like React suspense? Haven't looked into it a lot, but I'm just thinking of how this is like a one-time request. It's like you can't do a switch map with this. It just feels so much less capable. It's an async function, so it's using a promise internally, returning that. Here it is, and you're going to use endpoint. And I think this is where this probably is what a use endpoint. Who even knows what that's the key here. So I'm going to define it the way they did. So let's see. A next router thinks this is a next JS project. That's cute. Okay. Okay. Let's call this. Do I have to export it? Const fetch data equals async return. Okay. Now we will do this. Use endpoint. Hey. Fetch data. What? Okay, right. We need not to do this. We need to pass the type in. Really? Wait. Is this based on a naming convention? On get. Apparently it is. I hope this isn't what I think. Type of on get. Is that what he did here? Yes, that is. So what, you can only have one request? No, that doesn't make sense. But you can only export one on get per file. Right? Is that where you use like a promise.all? Huh. Maybe what needs to happen is somebody needs a non-trivial demo for Qwik that involves multiple requests, data, like something that's somewhat close to what you'd have in real life. Yeah, like this just seems limiting. So I can't use this anywhere? I have to use it in a component? Fine, I'll do it. This is the demo, so yeah, okay. So we're gonna call this done. That's the resource. So resource. And build our IO Qwik. That should be, yeah, importable. Importable. Okay, so now it needs the data. How did he pass that in? Resource equals resource. Okay, that's okay. Unresolved. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And that is a function. Like this. It needs to return something. What did we return over here? Yeah, just some stuff. Some HTML. I don't care. I'm just gonna. And we're gonna call it done. No, this will be then. I don't know. Okay. Okay, what's the deal here? Oh, return. Need to return it. Ugh. Right, first one. Okay. I mean, this should work, right? Oh, why is it? Data unknown is unassignable. Why isn't this type inference? This should be inferred. Got product. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with this? I'm importing it. Unknown? Why would I need to type this? Resource of unknown. I mean, oh, you have to type promises like that? That's stupid. All right. What? What? Oh, okay. Or promise of string. That is weird. What would you do with a promise here? I don't know, but I saved it. So let's see what happens now in the demo app. There it is. Why did it refresh the whole page? This is weird. Well, I would say my first experience with Qwik is confusing. So far, that's what I would say. This is confusing. I'm not sure if I'm doing it wrong or if all the demos I've seen just sort of smoothed over the important stuff that wasn't solved yet. So let's see. Done. And it just reloaded, right? I think it just reloaded everything. Let me see. Refresh. What is happening? Why is it still loading? Oh, is it because it's the resource? So why was that cached? Man, I'm so confused. It's like a mixture of really smart things and really new things. It's too new and smart for me. This is going to take too long to figure out. Yeah, I guess if you, I didn't think it could re-render on the server, so I don't know. I'm just overall confused. I just saved the file, and it's loading. Maybe I need to read more. Yeah, it does invoke onGet directly on the server, but fetch on the client. Why is this like, or my example, not this. First of all, why is this already like this? I'm really confused about that. And let's see, when I saved this, okay, did it refresh? No, why is it stuck? Why is it loading? Like, it should give it to the client and then, but instead it's waiting for the promise to resolve before it gives it to the client. That sucks. What am I doing wrong? Is this like an old version of Qwik, or like, I don't think so. I really doubt that's it. But this really doesn't seem like it should be hard. Like, how could you mess this up? Like, I messed up somehow, but promise like objects that could be serialized by Qwik. Okay. Is that what they're talking about when they can serialize promises? I don't know. Okay, this is confusing because the type it's returning is resource, but the JSX element is also called resource. That is a little confusing. So up here, the element's not promise like. It's the thing that's returned from use endpoint. That's what's promise like. I feel like I'm using abstractions that are too high. I need to focus on the fundamentals more. I need to get rid of everything that I just did and try to focus on my own, like just the most basic things first. So instead of promise, I'm going to ignore that whole thing. I'm just going to go back to basics and think about how to do just basic interactions, like how to callback functions work, async in general. Is it like what's possible at a really basic level? That's what I'm going to focus on. So, okay. This is kind of learning a lot all at once, and I'm wondering how long this is going to take. Is this going to become a huge project? I really like the ratio of thinking to debugging to be as high as possible. And so far it seems like debugging is going to be a huge part of this because there are details that I did not anticipate. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, such as the whole component re-rendering when you update something from the store. That's actually kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. I wish it was actually fine-grained reactivity. I really wish it was fine-grained reactivity. So what does that mean? I think maybe it means at the component level, state will update. See, this is what I like thinking. That's what I like. I guess I found out a little more about how Qwik worked, and now it's time to think about it. So that's what I'm doing. Here's the basic thing I want to try to do. I want to try to create a value that is based off of the store. So, oh man, this re-renders every time state changes. This is like React. Huh. So apparently I need to think more. I'm just going to experiment with the hook that they have. So input. Interesting. So useref, it's similar to React, where you can attach it to an element. It's exactly like this. And track. Current. What does that mean? Use client effect. Okay, and then track. That's a function from whatever. And yeah, so L. Okay, so this will. Yeah, this will run every time something happens. Like, how does it know to? I mean, it just when it re-renders. This is like annoyingly like React. Like really, really annoyingly like React. Huh. So I guess this would happen as soon as it gets created. Maybe. Oh, yeah, because you have like the use mount thing. Okay. Well, maybe use watch. It's going to be kind of like use effect. And you can create all kinds of declarative async stuff with use effect. So this is what I want to try. This is what I want to try. Oh, this is setting up a relationship between two things in the store. So this is derived state here. This is derived state. And it's next to actual state. Can you call this twice in a component? I really hope you can. I really hope you can. Okay, I'm going to play with this now. Okay, this is not an exported function. Where do you get it from? Oh. Okay. I hope you can use it multiple times, because if you have to put it in the same store, then you can't even initialize it with the relationship to it, which is just awful. Like, I mean, so far what it looks like is you could have just done this. Because every time you update the count, it's just gonna, like, let's see. Oh, step. I actually need that. So let's just put this here. Let's put doubled count there. Let's put it inside a paragraph. Okay. So good. Reload. That makes sense. That's not a thing. Okay. Yeah, because it's re-rendering, and this is just like React. So this example is pointless, right? It's pointless. You could have just, it's simple derived state. You could have just put it there. So, and like, you're declaring a relationship. It's declarative. It's const. It's declarative. So, all right. Well, geez, if you can track this, but you could also like set a timeout here and just double it like automatically. Like, I'm thinking instead of talking. Hang on. I'm just trying to figure out why you would use watch, because you already get derived state here. This is more fine-grained, I suppose. This will run every time anything changes here. But so what? That's fine. Here, though, you might do something asynchronous in between. Is that what this is? Is that why this is like this? Like why it exists? The demo isn't a great demo if that's the case. I think it's, but this isn't efficient either. Like look at this. I'm gonna put this in here. Let's call this triple count. Sure, let's call it triple count. And then in here we will do store.triple count times 3. Copilot. That is cool. Okay. All right, and then here we're gonna have we're gonna label this. Then we're gonna do triple count. It's not here, so store.triple count. What? Oh no. Wait, how do you spell triple? What am I doing? Okay, I think that's how you spell triple. It's weird. It's not actually that common of a word, is it? Okay, I didn't save it. So let's save it. I'm going to do a console log. Triple, double count. Ugh. Sure, I'll just be consistent. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. The math checks out. So let's see, what was I testing? Well, first I'm going to change this back to 1 just so it's a little less confusing. Oh yeah, I was going to test how many times this renders. If you click the button, and then I'm going to comment this out and make sure that it's still just 1. So no rendering on the client yet. And then where's the console log? Rendering once. That's promising. Good. Okay, so what's happening here is okay, this will take a bit to understand what order things happen in, but first count is updating in the store, and that's a proxy, and this gets added to the subscriptions, I guess, whatever you call that, as soon as you do this. So that's count. Oh, maybe it has to do with calling use watch again. It prevents it. It's smart enough somehow to anyway. So track. It sets this again. So if I do this, it have to? I don't know. Okay. Okay. Do that. Rendering. It says 3, so it's up to date. Okay. So this gets added to some kind of internal update stuff that runs all before the rest of this stuff, before the whole thing re-renders. So you want to have an entirely new state for the store before the component renders again. Okay. All right. So this is defining relationship between this and this, which is, look at this. Like, relationship between these, where would you look in the code? Oh, down here. Oh, okay. That sucks. But let's try something declarative now. This, I don't know what to expect for this. So let's just see what happens. Is it giving me an error because I used 2 stores? No. Good. Am I going to watch the right thing? I hope. Okay. Oh, did you notice that? Little lag. Click. Load. And then it's instant. Okay. Okay. So this seems to be acceptable. Does it have to be an object? What if it's just 0? No, it has to be an object. Okay. Yeah, okay. Proxy. All right. So, all right. I just want to jump to this immediately. Use debounced. I'm going to call this, whoa, React. Interesting. There's the function you call. Where does that get defined? I don't know. Where fn? Oh, you're passing it in. You've got delay. Use debounce. No, it's just going to be. Let's see if now it. No, it has no idea. Oh, here we go. Use state debounce value. Set debounce value. Use watch. Look at that. It's got Qwik here, but it is that AngularJS syntax. Dot bind this. Let's look at this. This is crazy. I'm just gonna call value. Geez, I don't know. It can be whatever. Okay, we're gonna call this debounced. And no setting here, just return that. And we will do debounce dot value equals v, that means value. This is so interesting. Get rid of this. I think it borrowed syntax from AngularJS there with the watch $. I think that's how AngularJS did it. It's been so long, but great job. Track. Set timeout. Can we do that? Nope. How do you, there's got to be a special timeout thing, right? How do you do a generic, I think this is something you have to do. Oh yeah, $. It's a $, right? Yeah. And then you how do you do this? Let me see if there's documentation that's easy to find on this. Well, I just looked for it and that was a waste of time. I'm just gonna use TypeScript. So great. Okay. Equals. What does this return? A function or the value? A QRL of it. So let's. What does that mean? Can I invoke that? I can, and it's a promise. Okay. Okay, I can deal with that, I think. All right. Good to know. So this is already lazy loaded, so this will be what I do. Can you... Can we do this? And then do that? And then... Let's see, that's timeout, so that... Oh no. Let's see, you return... Jeez, my brain. Can you do that? Is that what you do? Bind this. Bind this. Yeah, we don't need to do this. Don't do that at all. But we do need to close. And where's V? Where's V coming from? Track. I think we should do this here. Track. Let's see. Debounced. Value? Is that what you do here? Where did I see track used before? It was, well, I used it here. So store count, yes. Okay, so const equals v, or const v equals. Will this work? Yeah, get out of here. React. And should this, does it matter if this is lazy loaded? I mean, if it's going to be rendered, it's going to be here, right? Actually, no, right. You want by default everything to be... okay, does the compiler look for this and just already do it? It returns... No. They would have updated types. There would be a types. Well, VS Code, I would have to install an extension for that probably. npm, does that install it? Well, anyway, I can try that later, but oh, I need to pass something into it. Okay, this is different from React, all right? Oh man. We have to pass these in. We don't track this. We set it and return that. So this will be a store, let's call it any prop string. Okay, now we're gonna put in store. Okay, all right, you're smart. Okay, now we're gonna track that, and it's got value. And now we're going to let's put this here. Oh, wait a second. Did it just have an opinion that was good? It did. I am loving this. Store and prop. Okay? And now we've got declarative something. I hope this works. We could even just access it here, or would we want to? I don't know. There's so much I just don't know. Okay, now. Oh no. Oh, I need to export it. Everything you use needs to be exported. I remember Mishko saying that. Oh no. Can I re-render in server platform? Oh no. Warning. Debounced. Hey, nothing. Whoa, look at that. Ha ha ha. It's like React. It re-renders the whole component, but this is new state, so man. Okay, well, I think I have declarative async stuff here. That's pretty neat. But I'm really confused. Okay, what I learned from this store 2 thing, I'm going to simplify by deleting a bunch of stuff. What I learned from this is that all the stores are updated at once. Right? If I get rid of this debounced stuff, and I go back here, yeah, it re-renders just once. It's 2 stores, updates all the store stuff, the track stuff. That's all. So it is handled. State is handled at the component level. It's like React, but isolated as components, which is neat. So Qwik is like React, but the state is at the component level. Yeah. Okay. But I don't really care. I'm okay with this. I've made peace with that because you can use it to create declarative other things, I believe. So now, triple count. That's not even really. I'm not going to worry about that anymore. I've got double count, and I'm satisfied with that. So, but this is declarative. This is declarative. And how else would you do debounce? It would set state later, which is going to be it's going to be a re-render anyway. So, yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad that this is not fine-grained reactivity. Anyway, so we've got prop extends string, store extends. Well, geez. What do you call this? Dictionary? Record. It's going to extend it so it'll actually be specific, but store, and then we're going to have prop. All right. And this will, this knows now, this, if you put in something wrong, then it's the store's fault, apparently. Okay, but this works. This is not a debounce. This is a delay. That's a delay. Okay, but anyway, now I'm interested in what time things get fetched. Is this Qwik friendly? I'm happy, but is Qwik happy? Well, I did wrap this like this, so I'd be happy if I were Qwik. I don't need a console log it. I need to look at the network tab. So here's the question. Is this loading a minute later? And also a default value. I need to have a default value, right? So let's see if I can define that here. Undefined, right? You define it. Okay, that should work. Hey, it worked. Yeah, it immediately worked. That was fast. Okay. Click. All this stuff. Ha 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 ha. Look at that. It did work. Yes. Okay. All right. This just entered a different part of my brain. This is React. This is React. Okay. This feels the reactivity. The way to achieve reactivity is like React. And I don't think it's, I mean, I'll have to learn the details, but I'm not sure it's as easy. Like use effect is super nice. So I need to learn what the differences are going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be very similar to React. So what does this mean? This means, as I set the microphone down, this, no, this one isn't a complete waste. Hey, people liked something I did. Or they made really nasty comments, one of the two. Rewriting 20 RxJS operators as React hooks. I can make this for Qwik. Why not? My question now, though, is, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Let's try this. Let's see. You got use reducer. This would be cool if you had like the ability to. Yeah, there are advanced patterns that can be done. I'm going to write an article. This is worth an article. Yeah, honestly, set state. Qwik works the same. Call set state all you want. It just renders once. That supports an imperative style. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, man, this is... So it isn't just like the component input. It is store code that changes. So, all right. I should have created in-page links. I should have just tried the easy thing. Okay. So let's try timer. Did I do timer? Yes. Let's practice with timer. Use timer. This got really complicated by the end. So let's copy this. Oh man, this is gonna be cool. I wonder if you can just transpile stuff straight from React. Okay, geez, all right, functions. There was a functions folder somewhere. That was something else maybe. I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna call it use timer.function.ts. And I'm just gonna call it use timer. Everyone knows that's a function. All right. Export function. And this creates a store. So this is going to be use store. Not going to be that. And this will be value. What else? Value. And we're just going to tick it up just like a regular old thing. Whatever I'm talking about while typing and not thinking about what I'm saying. Yeah, like a timer. It's like a timer. Okay, timeout. Okay, so we need a track here. So this is like React, but more verbose. It is. It's more verbose. And what the heck? So we got timer. Of course, we're going to track value. This is overhead. I want to create something that wraps this. Honestly, I don't care. Use value. I'm just going to use value. Oops. Okay, I'm confused, but okay. I'm gonna call it that. That will be that. I think it may have been closer on the initial one, but okay. And I'm going to return value and store. It'll be actually be store.value. And this will just be called value. I mean store. All right. So yeah. And then track. I just feel like there's an easier way to do this. Track. It comes from the framework. So I would have to pass in something just as annoying. Ugh. Well, you're accessing it here, and maybe you don't want to because it should be lazy. I don't know. I'm just going to ignore that. Maybe that's a future idea, but it's unnecessary for now. Either way, we've got count here now, and God, that drives me nuts. Set timeout. Yeah, it'd be nice if there's a default function for this, but anyway, so set count. Instead, we're going to have timer.value equals 0. That actually makes sense. If there's DT and the count isn't null, that's the initial. We want it to be null, don't we? What do we have for React? Null. Okay. Yes, exactly. How did it know? That's amazing. All right, same thing here. Right, timer value, that'll be count plus 1. I don't know if this works exactly. Why is what's wrong with DT? Did I not close a parenthesis here? Let's see. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You got the wait there. Set timeout. I'm going to pause while I figure this out. Oh, it's this right here. Okay, now everything is beautiful again. This doesn't happen here. I wish it did. But it doesn't, so I'll just return timer. And just know that everything is dot value, I guess. Anyway, this should work. So let's save that and go try to use it. Okay. So we've got use debounce. We don't need that, but it doesn't hurt to have. So use timer. Nope. I love how it tries to guess something. This is half a video about GitHub Copilot, I guess. That's not what I'm. Jeez. Okay, timer equals use timer. There we go. And we're gonna do a wait time, which will be. Wait, why is that optional? I don't even Okay. So I just converted some code from React to this, and let's yeah. I mean, that's pretty easy to predict, but let's see if this works. If this works, I'm going to be so happy. I'm not happy. I don't think it's working. Nope, it's not working. Timer.value. That should be a number or null, I guess. Why didn't this? This whole function runs at the same time. It's really interesting. What does that do? But anyway, is this running at all? And when? Uh-oh. It didn't, it can't serialize the timer? Is that what's going on? The timeout? This is weird because I'm calling it use timer, but the debounced one, it already works and it's just a timeout anyway. It only runs once. So is this the deal? Is this what I have to do? Maybe this is what I have to do. I thought it was a bonus thing that I was doing, but I mean, use watch. Yeah, I think I really actually have to do this. Yeah, I believe I do. Okay, let's see, how did this go? So wrap all of this in parentheses, do an arrow function, and make it async. Import. Ugly. Okay. I don't understand. Because it never changed? What never changed? It's tracking the timer value. And that never changes, of course. Well, does this run? It runs on the server. It sets a timeout. This should update the timer value. Oh no. That would cause us to rerun, wouldn't it? Well, yes. That's the point. Because then it returns null. Yeah, so this only should run once. So anyway, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try wrapping this as well. Just to see. Man, I hope this works at some point. Why is use debounce working? I'm passing in a store. No, I'm defining a store here. Well, I am passing in a store too. So it's derived off of something else. I guess it's more like use delay. That's what it should be called. That's what I missed in StackBlitz. If you watch my previous videos, that change of whatever. Yeah, the way I wrote this in React was counting on this running every time it updated. I mean, you got here, it doesn't run if it's, if it doesn't meet these conditions. So, cleanup. What about cleanup? Do you have to do that in Qwik? Maybe you do. Yeah, I've got this here. Return clear timeout. So nice. It works the same, apparently. But you don't need the timeout. I mean, you don't need the $sign. It works. It's cool, but I guess you don't need it. I mean, they say you're supposed to be able to code just like you're not using Qwik, or just like you're not code splitting. It's how you normally code. I don't know what that means because I don't normally use Qwik, but once I learn what Qwik has me do, what does it have me do? I don't know. I think it's supposed to just look somewhat normal. Anyway, it's supposed to work like React, right? Huh. I'm going to keep debugging this. So this was a bit of a failed experiment. I just tried to see if I could get it to track something else, but no, it didn't change how anything worked. My question is, over here when I have use delayed, I should just call it use delay. Whatever. That works. I am setting it. Huh. And it does trigger a re-render. But because this didn't change, this doesn't run again. Okay? So, over here, this will run. Whether I create this here or somewhere else shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. I could, just to rule it out, I could implement it like this, just to make sure. But this shouldn't matter. I want it to be an internal thing. And we're tracking the store of value. So when this changes, it should run again. If I change it to 1,000. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. But I mean, it should be pretty, so no. What? Which one is this? That's not very helpful. What did I just change? I mean, TypeScript should help me with that. I mean, I really haven't changed much, have I? Can't read of null. Okay, that worked. That was weird. It just sort of crashed. So that sucks. And this isn't helping. See, look at that. That worked. Maybe it does have to be tied to the component somehow. Like actually called inside the component. So let's try moving this. I'm gonna move this here. And then I'm going to comment that out, make it a thing like this. What does this return? Store. What type is this? Well, it returns a use store return, so. this should just work, right? If I do this. Why not? A type of. I thought they were going to fix that, but what is the type? I want to know what the type is. So if I go here and click on it, it returns state. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, obviously. So, okay. I will then just type it as that. What? What is wrong here? Hang on. Oh, duh. That is the type. All right. So that's ready to be used like this. So timer store. I mean, I hope this isn't it, because defining this externally would be annoying every single time. Use store. I doubt it. This can't be what the problem is. It can't be this. Yeah, didn't think so. Okay, but now this should be the same behavior as this, like for sure. The only difference is it's imported from a different file, right? I mean, there are a bunch of differences, but I mean, here we are updating delayed.value, which is a new store. Okay. All right. So let's try that then. So timer. This will literally just be the same thing. Okay. So if you update state from, I'm pretty sure this is the answer, and this will actually work. I'm going to call this timer 2. That's timer 2 apparently. And we're tracking the original one. And that's the problem. I think the one you're tracking and the one you're updating have to be different, which sucks. I mean, this should work then, right? I mean, it should work, right? I'm going crazy. What's wrong with this? Is the issue that it doesn't run on the server initially? Because, like, well, actually, this delay does run. Well, I just initialized it. That's initial value, but it doesn't run the first time. It doesn't actually run. That's the issue. It doesn't run the first time. If we did this, that is the key. That's not the key. It is down here. I need to change it. Yep. But then it never updates a second time. And it's because it's on the server that it's doing this. So if I were to guess, I'd say this should just work. Except it never, I mean, how do you get it to The timeout isn't preserved. Is that what's happening? It needs to be updated because it's tracking. So this runs on the server. It runs on the server. This should run. And then it should set it. So this is running. And let's just try this. Let's try this. Let's try a console log here and see. Sure. I have a feeling that's how a lot of people are going to write code with GitHub Copilot. It's going to be like a sure. We're going to have a lot of sure code. Oh no. It broke again. It's really sensitive about that timeout stuff. And we get count null. And it never runs that thing. Maybe this is bad. Maybe I shouldn't try this. Or maybe it needs to be exported. Let's just try this and see what happens. Well, nothing. Wait, what? Dang it. That was the wrong one. Let's try it here. Has any? Why would you? Count null. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So timeout gets set, and then the server's like, yeah, whatever. That's just its own thing. Huh. I mean, I can try this, actually. Yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try down here. Just setting it. Why not? Ooh, what the? Count null and then count 1,000. Yep. Oh no. Serializing dirty watch. Looks like an internal error. Dirty watch? What does that mean? A dirty watch. Serializing a dirty watch. I just have doubts that any of this is going to be on Google. But you know what? I can try. Yeah, I didn't think so. No results found? Oh. GitHub. No? Where, like, was this... Is GitHub not indexed or something? So apparently, this makes the watch dirty. Because timer updated, and now it's updating again. So it renders it. This runs once. But the watch is marked dirty when this gets set. But it's not rendering again. So it doesn't resolve that. So when this runs the first time and it gets serialized, it's still in that condition where this has been updated. That's what it seems like to me. I don't see how it could be different. So then how does it not have a problem with this? Like, how does it care that there's a delay here? I'm going to test something. It's easier to test here, but basically, I'm going to call this null to begin with. All right. Yeah, that never... What the... Okay, there it goes. Why is that running now? It's running every time. Well, it doesn't matter, but... Interesting. Okay. Serializing a dirty watch. Is that an actual problem? This is weird stuff. This is weird stuff. Anyway, so that's null, and this timeout is totally ignored. So yeah, that sucks. But yeah, serialize a promise. That would be useful, because then I could just make this a type of promise. How do you serialize that? Is there a way I can do this? I can create this where a timeout that's set is somehow continued on the client? That'd be crazy. Yeah. This is a problem. It runs once. This internal state with the timeout, gone. Anything async is going to be gone. Just gone. And wiped out. And then it gets to the client. It doesn't want to re-render again. Re-render. So it's just going to take that HTML and be like, this is everything. This is it. We're good for now. Nothing's happening. So we're good. So there's got to be a way to set timeout, though. They have it in the docs. Like, here. Look at this. Set timeout. Why wouldn't this just work? Actually, what I have is identical to what he has, basically. Right? It's just inline in the component. So this should work. Like, he has initialized these. Where can I run this? I want to run this. Does he have demos? Let's see. I thought he had demos. Is that just SolidJS? I thought there were demos here. Tutorial. Isn't there a tutorial with demos? No. No, it would be nice. It would be nice. So, too bad. But this is supposed to work. But what does this mean? Is this just sort of glossed over? Like, this actually doesn't run the first time on the server? Because they did act like it was a crazy thing that they're able to serialize a promise and send that over and have the promise complete on the client. I think that was part of Qwik City, that thing I was looking at. And not that, whatever, I closed it. But so I think what I was looking at wasn't, I mean, the use endpoint. I think that's what that was. Maybe I could just use endpoint for this. Maybe that would work. Yeah, I think that this might be kind of lazy. Like, if an action happened on the server, or if it was like a default thing that was running, if it was started on the server, it kind of doesn't matter, but it totally does. So I don't know. I'm new to all of this, and the framework's new, so it could have all kinds of stuff in it that's weird that nobody intended. So I'm just like blaming everybody right now, myself, the framework, everything. Everything is weird. So use timer. What would it look like to try use endpoint? It's exported with the component, right? Well, no, use endpoint. I don't really know. Let me look at what Qwik City. Oh, it just comes with the component. They have to be defined in the same file. On get. That's the thing. Well, you can only do one per thing. That's a real problem. If I was gonna figure this out. This is like too heavy for what I need. I just need something simple. Let's see how use endpoint is defined. So let's look at Qwik City, the repo. It looks really specific to routing. I don't know. It's using a bunch of things underneath. Location. Oh, that's like the URL. Yeah. Yeah, it's tied to a URL. Is that a bad thing? Might not be. So I found, I don't know how I got here exactly, but I Googled use resource because they're using inside use endpoint. And this looks like a more up-to-date version of their docs, or I don't know what this exactly is. It's tutorial. I couldn't find the tutorial from the main website. Maybe I'm blind, but yeah, this is actually what I would want to use if it was even possible. But anyway, so this is a store, and they're tracking the org part of GitHub, the store, abort controller. To abort the fetching of data if a new request, because you're tracking, so this is like a switch map. And then you call cleanup, and cleanup aborts it. Oh, I see. Okay. So you call cleanup to cleanup. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so this runs every single time this changes. Okay. Get repositories. What is that? Your task, oh, come on. Just show me. Where is this actually gonna edit tutorial? I'm a little confused. Well, there's a link to the repo, and at least I can find it here. So it just returns a promise. So that's pretty cool. Await and fetch. That's apparently something you can do. So maybe I can try this. I mean, it's kind of annoying. You got use resource, you got resource. I don't know how I'm going to be able to use this. Maybe I can just use it. But okay, so what I need, This is going to be a separate test. I'm going to come back to my function later. Okay. But for now, I'm going to try making a resource. So let's call this fetch stuff. Was it async? No, it just returns a promise. So there we go. There's some stuff there. What? Issue is I didn't type this, so I'm not sure where the syntax problem will be. But I mean, this is fine. It looks like it returns an unknown, but I'm gonna call it, simplify it. That works. Promise string. Okay. Now why is this as any? Oh, no. Set timeout. This should work. I don't know what the as any was for. It's totally unnecessary. Okay. It's returning promise. All right. Now we're going to do use resource. Good. It knew what I was looking for. Okay. Now, can I I don't think it works like this. Dang. Okay, maybe I need to look at the implementation of use resource and see what's in there. Ooh, some aware stuff happening here. Use is server. Create resource return. What's it importing? Proxy. Get context. Got this thingy. Okay, well, I'm implementing use timer, so if I need to figure out a way to implement use timeout again, or set timeout on both client and server and figure this out, I guess that's what I have to do, right? How? I need JavaScript on the client to do this. But you know what? If that's the state when it arrives at the client, we do need JavaScript to go. So it's probably the same thing with resource, because you're calling fetch. It's going to be from the client and it's going to be immediate. So yeah. How do you get JavaScript to run immediately? For it to say, no, here's some work that needs to be done. Render this again on the client. Or render? No, execute this. How do you get the client to execute something? That's actually an important thing in general, I think, if you really need something to work. Run resource. Okay, I looked at the code. I looked more at the source code. I noticed this part here, resource.resolved. I'm going to try that. I'm going to see what happens. So what should happen? Whatever. Where am I? Where's my demo? It's right here. Nothing. There's nothing here. Well, it is a string. Well, it's not. Get. I think get, whatever that function was called, it's actually triggering something to happen on the client? No, use resources. It should be. Or maybe it's the JSX element that's causing the resource to run. What other properties does that resource have on it? Resource dot timeout. Oh, interesting. Let's see what that returns. Nothing. Can't re-render on server. Let's get rid of this. This is... I mean, it's still, like, it is actually... Hey, it is running, but it's running on the server. Right. Okay, that's good. Anyway, how do we transfer that state over? Can't re-render on the server. Yeah, this is the issue. How do I get this to the client? And what is up with resource? I'm looking at resource right now. And use resource. This renders when it gets to the client. How come use resource doesn't say, hey, add this to your list of things to do? Like this? Like there should be something happening here. Is this even running? Sure. Fetching stuff. Yep. Running on the server. Even though I'm saying use resource and it's already sent to the client. Well, actually, yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works, but I'm pretty sure I can do this. What did I use this already? I think I tried this already. Resource. Yeah, I've done this. This is annoying. Resource, and it wants the resource. And then on resolve, is that what it's called? On resolved. And this is, let me call it Z. Oh. And what was your issue? JSX node any? Oh, of course. I don't even care. All right. It's going to be weird, but I mean, I hope this works. 3 seconds later, there it is. And it ran before this, of course, yeah. Okay. What if I want to define something else that reacts to this? Like, what if I want to do a use watch with it? This is kind of, what is this doing? That's now what I want to look at. This is imported from the same exact place, so this is a lot of research. So this is use component. I hope it's sensitive. Yes, good. Okay, I'm going to pause while I search for this. Here we go, is in the same file. All right, so it is a JSX element. Use is server. So we're rendering. Okay. On rejected, a resource dot promise dot catch. Is that in the TypeScript? Let me see. Where are we? Let's go up here. Promise. It is. Oh, it's a promise. Okay. What can we do with that, though? What can we do with that? Let's try and see what happens. So that is what just happened on the client. I hope it logged as well. It did not. Why? Oh. Oh, down then, yeah, it should work. Why didn't that work? I mean, oh, it's waiting for the resource to finish. That's stupid. That is what's happening? Yep, it refreshed it. That's what was happening. That's why I stopped doing the other thing. My other attempt at using resource. Huh. That's stupid. How do I just get it then to just give me just render first, go to the client, set up a promise on the client that resolves when the promise on the server resolves. That's what I want. Because then my timer, I can have whatever I want here, and then it can run later on the client. Man. Let me see if I can just do like a to be continued on this, because it's really late and I need to go to sleep. So I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to summarize where I am and hopefully come up with something. Some good summary and a plan for next time. That's what I'm going to try. All right, well, here's the basic stuff that I learned. Qwik is a lot like React. The entire component re-renders every time something in the store changes. Anytime any of the props change too. But only the component re-renders. And it's more flexible than I thought it would be. You can use whatever code you want. And it is fun to split things up with the $sign function. That's really fun. And it's good. But the one thing that I didn't think about is that you can set a timeout when you're rendering. So any initial setup of async stuff, like timeouts or intervals. I wonder about interval, actually. I'm going to try that real quick. Let's try that. Let's try it. I mean, it should just log over and over again here, right? Because that's where it was set. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to do it here. It's not going to do it here. But this is part of the initial state of the application. So what do you do when on mount? Use mount. Maybe I need to look into that. Nope, only runs once. Same semantics, but only run on server. So, use mount, use styles, use watch, use ref, use store. So, use client effect. Oh, wait. Oh. Only runs in client. That might be what I want, right? Because we get this. Yes, this is what I want. Oh, man. Okay. Use watch. Is it not for asynchronous stuff? Why is their demo? Why does their demo have a debounce example? It doesn't work on the initial. Oh no. I think I'm gonna have to use both then, huh? I guess I'm gonna have to use both. This for the initial one, and then use watch thereafter. So what if I try this? Okay, let's assume this is gonna work exactly how I want. So I'm gonna get rid of stuff here. This initial one. I'm gonna split this in two. Use client effect. And it's got track. Wow, it has track? Interesting. Then maybe I can just get rid of this completely. All right? Yeah. Maybe this works. Magically, somehow. Maybe it works. Magically, somehow, maybe. Oh, yep. There it goes. So refresh. There it is. Wow. Okay. Man, okay, yeah. Reading documentation helps a lot. Yeah, man, I just assumed use watch would run on the client. Use client effect. Use that for async setup stuff. What else would you use it for? Like, when do you use that and when do you use watch? Because use watch is for updates. Why would you ever care about that on the server? Doesn't work for initial values. I think use client effect. I think I'm going to go with that. That's going to be my favorite one now. So yes, when I'm looking at this here, not that one, this one, and I'm translating these things into to whatever it's called. I'm going to change it to use client effect $. But other than that, it should be the same. Well, and then use the track thing and then you don't do that. So each one of these gets its own line of code. Other than that, you don't need anything. Well, this will never need its own line of code. It just I think will update automatically. But okay, gosh, wow, I got it to work. That what? I almost don't believe that it works still. I'll come back to that other thing. This, I don't care about you anymore. Use client effect. Of course they would need to provide something like that. It just makes more and more sense. It's exported, so it's technically used, but that sucks. That's gone. All right, use client effect. All right, don't use watch. And don't use these things. What? Oh man, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Use client effect dollar. There you go. No. I don't know what's going on here, but use client effect. There we go. Okay. Now, yeah, right? I am initializing it at 0. So if I do 3, yes, and then 0. My life could have been easy. Oh man. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to provide a DT. Let's have it repeat. So this is just like the RxJS operator every 2 seconds. So oops, save. Yep. Wow. Okay. All right, my mind is now back to where it was before this annoying stuff happened. There, I'm never going to forget that now. I know exactly. I don't know where use watch is supposed to be used. I really don't. This seems adequate, like completely. So this is just React. So now and then I have to think about stated app because I do believe. Okay, a couple things. Observable creation methods. Oh, they do work. That's what use timer is. I didn't need to pass to the store. This is a store. You just have to do dot value, just like with React, you have to do tuples. So I think Vue has a similar idea, but I just can't believe it's working. I was so sad for a bit there, but okay. Well, 1,000, that can be, this should just be 0, right? I think that's the behavior that I copied from RxJS, so yep. Okay, well, declarative reactivity is a thing in Qwik, which is nice. Makes me glad that I went down that rabbit hole with React. Because even though React is not the future, I do not believe, unless they change to like this is a step better than React. A step better. It's not perfect. I wish I could use RxJS, and I wish it was doing fine-grained reactivity, but this is a massive step above React, as far as I can tell. Just because the state management will look similar, but then the actual like capability that Qwik brings is so incredible with the splitting and rendering and all this stuff. I mean, this is incredible. And look, let's look at it. Our favorite thing to do with, oops, I refreshed the wrong thing. That was stupid. Refresh. Let's look at network. And, haha, look at that. Interval. Yep. God, it's so beautiful. Okay, I love Qwik again. I love it. I love it more than I did before I started this. Well, in some ways, it sort of sucks because it renders the entire component again, but it's also incredible because it only renders a component. it's like between. It's so weird. It's like between SolidJS and React, but a new thing as well because of the code splitting. So weird. All right. So React selectors, memoized selectors. That's what I was going to do next with state adapt, because you don't want to. I'll just go to the state adapted code base. App.tsx. Look at this. This actually subscribes and uses a set state. This isn't Reacty. What it should be is state1 equals store1 dot state parentheses, because you're selecting it. Because this whole component already had to render just because of that special event that happened. A new state has been calculated. You don't need to subscribe and set state again. You just grab that from the state. And it's like, it's an even better API because you don't have to call an extra function. You just grab it. So I will update that. But then over in Qwik now, I'm wondering. The store is a new thing. So let's say you update it. It's just like state. So you set it. You can have selectors. I think you can have selectors. And you should be able to have, yeah, you can have those be async. You definitely can be. You definitely can. So let's just define that right now. Let's see. Let's just do export function select double count. Actually, I basically already did this, but you could do create selector here. This could be memoized. You could use reselect in this library. And dang, that's actually pretty dang. Wow. That was awesome. Why are we defining the entire store, though? That's the weird thing. That doesn't seem... Yeah, I'm just going to call it select double. Let's see what happens if I do just select double. Yeah, it's still doing the weird thing. So, yeah, and then you just apply this to, and it's memoized, so it's efficient. Just apply this to store.count. And I mean, it's working obviously, but then you can do this, wrap it in the $. Frick. Wrap it all. Oh yeah, import. Okay. Now, it did need to, because it rendered it. Wait, no, it shouldn't need this. It shouldn't need this initially, because oh, it did, because the whole component re-rendered. Yeah, now the component is re-rendering, and that's when it calls it. So it will not, it'll wait a second and then do it, because that is when the component re-renders on the client. And man, I feel like I can use Qwik now. Like, I feel like I understand it now. I have I know exactly what I can do. Dang. TanStack, is that what they called it? React query. That could be used in Qwik, I think. And there's so many possibilities. But anyway, so whatever I do for React with StateAdapt, I can use here. And the only issue will be how to take advantage of this API to get to lazy load like it should. Honestly, that shouldn't be too hard either. Just initialize it, but if it anyway, I love this. I like Qwik more than React. I like React as much as Angular because React is simpler. Even though it doesn't use the RxJS fine-grained reactivity stuff, and it bugs me how inefficient it is, and you have to do all these things. There's stuff about Angular that bugs me too. It's annoying to use RxJS in Angular with the async pipe and the templates, and it's awkward. But it's like RxJS still, and that opens the door to fine-grained reactivity later. And I really hope Angular eventually gets down that route. But thinking reactively is just in general something that I wish happened more and more. And I believe that is the direction of the future. And then now there's Qwik that takes the good from React, actually, and adds an extra side of it that I wasn't even really looking for. This is actually what I would expect from somebody who created React, not somebody who created Angular. This is really weird. I did not expect this at all. So, nice job. And I wonder, yeah, I will, yeah. I am going to use StateAdapt with Qwik. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And it's unfortunate that fine-grained reactivity isn't a thing in Qwik, but there will still be a beautiful way to use StateAdapt with Qwik, just like I think there is with React. So actually, I feel like to figure out Qwik, I need to figure out the React stuff better. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. I don't know what I was expecting. Something weirder, I think. Okay, well, I think I'll look into Svelte next. Now that I know this is the way it is, I'm going to look into Svelte. Then I'm going to go more into React because I am more familiar with React than this. I'll figure out what works with React. I'll make that better. And I believe it should be able to translate to this pretty well. But yeah, the thing is, I can experiment and create stuff that I know will work with React, but I don't know it'll work with this. But it will help me when I do try to get it to work with this too. It'll be something to start from. So it makes sense to do React. But I'm going to do another spike on Svelte next. Yeah, this is too similar to React for me to really go deeper into this when I still haven't figured out React, the details yet. So Wow. Okay. Okay. Here's the main question I will have now. I actually think this might be easier with React. Okay? Or with Qwik. Um how do I define how do I use state adapters with this? How do I use state adapters? I can create a store internally, and that is the state of actually it'll all just be one giant store, won't it be? Maybe. I don't know. Not no. I think it'll be like how I did with React. How I think it'll be like that. But I mean, and each one of these, yeah, each source is a like each stated app source is going to be a store actually one of these. And you call .next on it's you're still going to call use source. That's still going to be the thing with Qwik, with stated app Qwik. And so that use source thingy, it is going to be it's going to have a store, and when you call .next, it'll set the value of the store, and it will return you an observable. Huh. Uh-oh. Yeah, the observable side of things. I don't know how that's going to work. It can't be serialized, but what does that mean? It doesn't need to be. It's a client thing. It has to be a client thing. React is easier, I think, to work with. It's dumber, so of course it is. Man, I was thinking about this, about like tying it up and continuing later. And with literally 2 minutes of just thinking and kind of stepping back, I had a breakthrough. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just looked at other hooks, and the answer was there. And man, I'm not going to get very much sleep tonight because I have to wake up. So, but that's going to be on my mind. RxJS. So I don't know what my exact plans are going to be. I'm going to keep this in my mind. I'm probably going to rewatch it just to let it soak in even more and figure out what to do next. Anyway, I don't know who would watch this, but this was a long struggle for me. But it's sort of like when I was learning React, and I struggled for a long time to get RxJS to work in React. And I learned about React that way. And maybe just following a tutorial would have helped more, but I never forgot what I learned. I didn't touch React for like 2 more years. And then I went on a React project and just immediately picked up where I left off. And I'm going to remember this too. I remember the things that I learned here. And this was worth it for me. I don't know if it's worth watching, but there isn't very much stuff about Qwik out there. So maybe someone will find this 3-hour long video worth more than 0. Either way, it's good to have this record of me learning. So, just 'cause, I don't know why. But anyway, all right. Bye.